Hello everybody, my name is Kai. Welcome back to Warframe. Today we will be taking a look at the most popular weapon in all of Warframe. Now I know these were the statistics for last year, I think, and the ones for the current year have not been released yet, but the Ignis Wraith. Yes, I actually have this really cool skin that you get with this Ember Deluxe bundle. But the Ignis Wraith is the most used weapon, primary weapon, I should say, in all of Warframe, and it's actually really damn good, so let me show you why. First off, taking a look at the base stats of the Ignis Wraith with absolutely zero mods on the gun itself or my Ember that I am currently equipped with, you can see that it has a base heat damage. This is because the Ignis Wraith is a flamethrower. This is also considered a beam weapon. Now, beam weapons in the game function a little bit differently from the normal kind of typical ARs in the game. When firing the Ignis Wraith, you will want to know that it has a 0.5 ammo tick per damage, which means that pretty much every shot that you shoot or every one ammo consumed in the bottom right actually does 2 ticks of damage. The damage also does ramp up over 0.6 seconds, kind of negligible, and since it is a beam weapon, it does have limited range of around 27 meters, does have a blast radius at the end, and Sinister Reach can be equipped to further extend the range of the Ignis Wraith. Spawning some enemies and using the Wraith on them, you will also see that it has infinite body punch through, although it does not have surface punch through, so if you want that, you will have to mod for that. And that AoE that I was talking about earlier is around 3 meters, so if you were to fire it at the ground or extend its maximum range, you will see that it's still hitting these targets, even though I'm clearly not aiming at her. This means that mods such as Firestorm or even the primed version of it do benefit the blast radius of 3 meters at the end of its beam. Likewise, the Sinister Reach mod does not affect the beam thickness or area of effect and only the beam range, and like I just said, Firestorm only affects the area of effect, neither of the two other stats. And finally, you should know that the Ignis Wraith can headshot, so if I were to shoot at the legs here and then shoot at the head, you will see that I'm getting considerably more damage when I shoot at the head. So aim for the head with this flamethrower. Let's move on to the actual build now. And here we go. This is pretty much the stock Ignis Wraith build that will do you well in pretty much like every tier of content up until higher levels in the Steel Path. The Ignis Wraith will absolutely demolish everything on the base star chart. And for the first couple hours of Steel Path, you will find that this build does you perfectly well. If I come over to some enemies over here and showcase it, because we are using primary merciless, I will need to build up our damage, also using the galvanized mods. But it's a Hunter Munitions viral slash build, so, you know, it takes a little while to build up. But once it does, you'll see that the Wraith is actually a really, really good weapon. Once the slash procs start to tick, we kill really, really quickly. Is the Ignis Wraith the most powerful gun in the game? No, I'll be fairly honest with you guys. It really isn't. It doesn't kill lightning fast such as other weapons do, but it is very accessible. It's very easy to mod, and it will kill. And I think that's one of the most important parts about the Ignis Wraith and why it's so popular, because this thing is it's a menace for crowds. Obviously, those were all level 125 corrupted heavy gunners, so of course they have tons of armor and all that stuff, but for lower level fodder enemies or just like, you know, the butchers and the lancers and stuff, this will kill really, really quickly. If we discuss our mod choices, Galvanized Chamber is multi-shot. This is on every build in the entire game. No need to explain this one. Galvanized Aptitude here gives status chance. Now, this is a Hunter Munitions slash build, so we are of course building for crit. And since Slash really likes viral, we are building for viral. This gives you on kill, direct damage per status type affecting the target for 20 seconds. This is honestly, for just pure simplicity, use this mod. But if you want the damage to go even higher, which the Ignis Wraith could use it, what I suggest you use here is a Bane mod. This, obviously, for our testing purposes, would either be Bane of Grineer or Bane of Corrupted, whatever you want here. If you use a Bane mod, you will double dip on the slash procs given to you by Hunter Munitions and will increase your damage tenfold. I personally do not like to use Bane mods and find the micromanagement to be too annoying. But Galvanized Aptitude is the mod that I would drop for a Bane mod. So if you really want to invest in your Ignis Wraith, use a Bane mod over your Galvanized Aptitude. You will see much higher returns there. Now, Rhyme Rounds and Malignant Force are obviously here to give us our viral, critical delay, and vital sense, give us that crit chance and our critical damage. Viral Acceleration I like to use here because, like I said earlier, as a beam weapon, it does about 2 ticks of damage per 1 ammo used. So the more fire rate we get, the faster we're applying those viral stacks, more heat stacks, more crits, which gives us more slash. And yeah, We use Primary Merciless because this is a viral Hunter Munitions build, which doesn't allow us to proc Primary Deadhead, even though the Ignis actually can headshot. So this also gives us some bonus reload speed, which is nice, although the Ignis Wraith has a mag of 200, which is very high. You won't be reloading very often with this weapon. Sinister Reach gives us more range on our beam, which allows us to hit targets from very, very far away, and means that, you know, it's really not that big of a deal if you're shooting into an entire crowd. You can kind of kill all of them because the range is really, really high. To take your Wraith's damage even further, you can use such a thing as the Epitaph, because this will increase the base damage granted by Galvanized Aptitude to prime enemies. And then obviously right here I'm on Ember. I won't be using her for the testing, but this is just a great frame to use the Ignis Wraith on because of her passive. But if we come over to a frame such as Harrow, who is notorious for being the gun buff god, coincidentally, and use the Ignis Wraith, using Harrow with the buffs that it gives us, the Wraith obviously starts to become a hell of a lot better. The Ignis Wraith is one of those weapons that really, really, really benefits from outside Warframe buffs, because it is so tight on mod space that if you were to use arcanes such as Arcane Acceleration, which gives you fire rate, and just other base damage, the Ignis Wraith actually starts to shine a lot more. That's obviously why Harrow is so good. You get critical chance here and fire rate and reload speed from his penance. But if we come on to Revenant, which is the frame that we'll be doing our testing on, I can showcase which arcanes I actually think you might want to use. Like I said previously, the Ignis Wraith is a really great weapon for hitting crits because it is a beam weapon, so it does around 2 ticks of damage per single ammo used, and Arcane Acceleration on crit gives you fire rate. Using this allows you to come to your Wraith and drop the Viral Acceleration mod, because they give the same bonus, and use that Bane mod that I talked about earlier. That will actually really, really increase your damage. The testing that I do will actually be using the Arcane Acceleration with a Bane mod here against some Grineer, just because I want you guys to see how powerful the Ignis can be when you do actually, you know, fully kind of max it out. The Ignis Wraith is simply just one of those weapons that is very popular because it's reliable, and it's good, and it's easy to get, especially after the changes to where it cannot be traded, and every clan dojo now has it. So why don't we go jump into the Steel Path, and I can show you why everyone is using this weapon. For testing purposes, I actually just bought out the rest of the Arcane Accelerations that I needed, because I want these tests and these videos to be as high quality as possible for you guys. So just dumped some platinum for this one, but I can assure you that it is worth it to run this weapon with the Ignis, because it frees up the fire rate slot, which allows you to use that Bane mod. So let's go jump into the Steel Path. So here we are on Taivuni in the Kuva Fortress. I like to test here because it is there's a Grineer here, and you know, we're using a Grineer Bane mod. But as you can see, the damage is honestly, it's pretty damn good when you know, are using that Grineer Bane mod. Obviously you double dip on the slash procs, and it really shines when you get it up to those big crowds, because then you can just shoot into all of them and just you kill them from the DOTs. Its single target damage is not phenomenal, but like for a what I'd garner as the most new player friendly Steel Path weapon, this works really, really damn well. Let me proc this so we don't die. Obviously, I'm using an Arcane here, and Arcanes are not really accessible to those new players. So again, just use a Bane mod. Use Viral Acceleration over the Bane mod. Your damage will be a lot lower, but that is just, unfortunately, how it has to be. I am using a Panzer Volpaphyla, since it spreads that viral status effect, and viral multiplies the damage of our slash procs on top of our Bane mod. So Panzer is probably the best companion you can use when you are ever using any type of slash weapon. And see, that damage is very respectable. The Ignis Wraith is also a low-level monster. Low-level content, it just absolutely demolishes, because, you know, it's already killing really, really well here. It's just because it is a viral slash weapon, it actually, you know, happens to be that these low levels of the Steel Path, it doesn't kill as fast as other weapons because those slash ticks need a second to proc in. The reason that I'm not using corrosive on this build is because the Ignis Wraith just kind of needs this kind of viral slash to contend, because its base damage is so low that even the raw damage you get from corrosive, I find performs a little bit worse than using this viral slash. And also viral slash scales a little bit better. So if you wanted to take the Ignis Wraith as far as it could possibly go, you are going to be wanting to use this over the corrosive builds later. And thought I'd make this one a little bit shorter and only have it showcase one little build. It also does kill Eximus fairly well. Obviously the heat and slash procs are what are doing most of the work. If I activate Roar, which is another multiplier for our damage, you'll see that the damage, like, you know, like I said, those, yeah, now it is killing really fast. And those outside buffs, like I said earlier, are what the Ignis really, really needs to succeed. Once you use them, though, really, really strong. The Ignis is actually my most used weapon in the entire game, because you can get it at, I think, Mastery Rank 9, and you can obtain it from your clan dojo for absolutely free. So it is just one of those weapons that I picked up, and it was so good at just the base star chart and stuff that I'd like really only used it from around MR9 to MR14, where then I started to realize that there are, you know, much better weapons in the entire game. Lots of people like to dog on the Ignis, but I just think that, you know, they need to realize that it's just really, like, it's super accessible. There's nothing fancy about it. It's not amazing, but it's not bad either. And for Steel Path, this damage, like, you know, for a new player, this is really good on the Steel Path, because obviously those new players they need to get their arcanes and stuff, and you gotta use some weapon to do it. Other weapons are not as easy to obtain. This one is. And if you're doing anything besides the Steel Path, oh my god, the thing is a monster for that content. Alright, I decided to wait for an Acolyte to spawn so I could show you how the Ignis fares against the Acolyte. And we're getting Mania, so we will see how it holds up. And as you could have probably expected, it is not a phenomenal Acolyte killer. It will kill. I don't know how I'm taking any damage right now because I'm on Revenant, but it is not great at it because there is a cap on the amount of heat procs and slash procs that Acolytes can take, and they also cannot take any viral procs at all. So when you're not removing their armor right there, obviously the slash was bypassing them, and I just was able to burst it down, but that's because I'm on Revenant and I'm literally unable to die. So if you're on any other frame that actually has a risk of dying, then yeah, not the best Acolyte killer. But it will do it, it's just Acolytes can't even take viral procs at all. So that's why it's not phenomenal for it, because the Ignis does kill with its slash procs. And we're going to be calling it for this one right here, everybody. The Ignis Wraith doesn't really require much of an explanation, which is why this is a bit of a shorter video. But it's just one of those weapons that's reliable, good, strong, and will do what you need it to do, regardless of where you take it. Obviously, if you try to take the Ignis Wraith to like level 9999, it's not going to fare very well. But, you know, by then, if you're doing level cap runs, you'll probably have better weapons that you can use and, you know, more frame buffs and stuff like that. But anyways, I hope that you guys enjoyed this one. I thought that I'd do a video on this gun because it's so popular, and with the new year, I think a lot of people are going to be looking for how it is currently doing in 2023, and it is still an absolute monster. So, thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.